Real Health Transformations is a podcast for the woman I once was and the woman I'm still becoming. It's for the new mom trusting her instincts, the seasoned mom questioning the science, and the party girl ready to trade Sunday scaries for sourdough starters. It's for the woman who's wrestled with weight, trauma, chronic illness, and the struggle to find balance in motherhood, career, and life. I'm your host, Holly Jean Mullen, a functional wellness practitioner and holistic real estate specialist. You are the expert on your body, and this show is here to help you cut through the BS, connect the dots between your health and your home, and find simple strategies that actually work for you. We'll have real conversations that matter, challenge the status quo, and keep it simple. If you're craving a calmer home, a clearer mind, or a healthier body, you're in the right place for real solutions, real encouragement, and real transformation. All right. Hello, Transformation Tribe. That's new. Transformation Tribe. How does it sound? Is that what we're going to roll with? Is that what we're going to call ourselves? I'm going with it for now. We can change it. But this morning, as I'm recording, that's what works for me. You're my Transformation Tribe today. And today on the show, I want to talk about the number one diet and nutrition lie that is being pushed today because it's out there and it's a big one. Good health isn't just about diet and exercise. It's about your whole lifestyle. We're talking sleep, stress, mindset. Experts now recognize these holistic factors that are crucial for true wellness. It's not just one thing. And nutrition goes beyond food too. It's about everything you consume, meaning the things that you're taking in mentally, environmentally. And our health is really this delicate balance of the physical, the mental, the emotional, spiritual, environmental, and it all needs to be in harmony. So when we're hearing about fad diets and gimmicks and a lot of outdated advice, like it's clearly just not working for us. If we were even to just look at the rising obesity and disease rates, that is clue enough that whatever we're doing is not working. And it's time we need to evolve in this nutrition conversation beyond oversimplified guidelines. And as a public, we're not going to get healthier until we can provide balanced and personalized guidance and not necessarily restrictive rules that ignore individual needs. So the big lie, the big myth, the number one nutrition lie that's being pushed today is that there is just one best diet out there for everyone. And I will die on this hill of the narrative pushing for everyone to go plant-based or vegan. No, that is not the answer. And I will die on that freaking hill. It is not, because there's no one-size-fits-all diet. And the best diet depends on your individual goals and your genetics and your lifestyle and personal preferences. So let's talk about the truth about healthy eating, because people are being misled into thinking that ultra-processed, nutrient-void, plant-based products are healthy. But these are often nutrient-void. As I said, they're filled with crappy oils and emulsifiers that just wreck your gut. You know, we're all talking about gut health. Gut health is so sexy. We all want to fix our microbiome. I will tell you, it is not. You're not doing that by eating all this food, fake food with fillers. And we're just so far from God's design and our current culinary guidelines here in the States that just push grains and veggies and fruits and plant proteins. Like, it's just a disaster. Grains are ultra processed. They've come a long way from what they were in the olden days. And fries don't count as vegetables unless you're in a school cafeteria, where apparently they do. That is so sad. Fruit juice, gummies, those aren't real fruit, but under our current guidelines, they count as fruit. No. And plant proteins are just science experiments. Let's face it, they are just frankenfoods. And God gave us amazing animal products. We have meat, we have dairy, we have eggs. These are nutrient powerhouses, and we have thrived on them for thousands of years. So demonizing them means missing out on the protein and the micronutrients that our bodies really need. And the food industry preys on our busyness and our health desires by pushing processed food disguised as healthy through clever marketing. And we're being led astray from eating as nature intended. So I guess if there's any advice out there that I could say applies to everyone in some way, is to just eat as closely to nature as possible. If it's being marketed, if it needs to have a label, like it's a gimmick, it's a scam. Whole food nutrition really is key. Whether you eat balanced food, vegan, paleo, keto, it doesn't matter the style of eating that you like to eat, but it's just focusing on those real foods. And do you know how you know what's best for you? It's listening to your body's biofeedback. You gotta listen to your hunger, your mood, your energy, craving, stress. These are your blueprint for the ideal way of eating. And listening to biofeedback is a great way to learn how food makes you feel. But the concept is too vague for a lot of people who are just starting out. And this is why I like to set some basic dietary parameters as a starting point with clients and then dial it in from there. So as a client learns to do their food journal and pay attention to the subtle clues of their body, then they can really start tuning in and like fine tuning what the best diet is for them. Like what is the best way to eat for them and their body. But I understand sometimes we do just need some general guidelines as a place to start before we can start tweaking. So if you focus on whole foods, nutrient-dense foods, vegetables, fruits, proteins, healthy fats, limit the processed foods, the ultra-processed foods. Limit your sugar consumption, industrial seed oils. And I will tell you, if it's packaged, it probably has industrial seed oils. Avoid cooking with them at home, and you could do a really good job of avoiding them if you're not eating out a ton or eating things from packages. And just pay attention to how different foods make you feel. And from there, you can explore different dietary approaches and find what works for your body. And the key is being consistent with whatever you choose and making it a lifestyle. This is your maintenance diet, not a quick fix. I want to talk about nutrition's role in disease because let's be real. As a society, we are sick. Like so sick, you guys. So many people are desperately searching for answers to relieve symptoms, reverse disease, and just feel better. And at the heart of this diet conversation, we need to focus on nourishment. And the whole point of eating is to nourish our bodies for physical functioning and optimal cellular processes. But food also, it nourishes our souls. There is an energetic component to preparing food with intention and enjoying it with loved ones. And it doesn't always have to be like the highest quality. You don't have to be eating the most perfect foods to receive nourishment. So I want to acknowledge that too. It's like, it's not about eating the most pristine, organic, highest quality foods. It's about choosing real foods, but it's also not ignoring that food also comes with that energetic component and how we are consuming foods and the company we're consuming food. To understand our modern, like malnourished disease state, we need to look at how we've lost traditions. We're not eating home cooked meals like we used to, sitting around the family table that were prepared with love. We're so busy chasing what and at what cost. And maybe I'll just do a little side rant here because I think it's relevant. The decline of family meals and home cooked traditions didn't happen by accident. It was this perfect storm, I believe, engineered to pull families apart and make us sick and make us a disconnected society. Both parents being forced into the workforce out of economic necessity, clever marketing and brainwashing that packaged processed foods as convenient and modern, and the glorification of busyness as some badge of honor or some badge of importance. And it all served to dismantle the family unit and break the chain of culinary wisdom that's been passed down for generations. And we lost it so quickly. So quickly. We lost that simple act of cooking, nourishing meals, and eating together. These are rituals that keep us grounded and connected and healthy. And now we're overfed, but we're malnourished. We're starved for quality nutrients and the spiritual nourishment that comes from sharing meals with loved ones. And it's a recipe designed to keep us sick, tired, dependent on a system that doesn't care about our well-being, to put it nicely. I don't want to get too nefarious, but if you want to be a rebel in 2024, start reclaiming your traditions, the traditions around food, and family. That is the ultimate act of resistance, right? Viva la resistance. What was that? What was that movie? Was that a South Park movie? I don't remember. But this is how we rebuild family bonds and regain our health sovereignty. If we want to really just opt out of the matrix that disconnects us from each other and ourselves. Okay. All right. I got myself started on a little rabbit hole there. Rabbit hole is my favorite pastime. Let's get back on topic here. Nutrition's role in disease. All right, food quality. Our nutrients have declined. Our food quality has declined. How we consume food socially and energetically, that has declined as well. And it's rare that people worry about their health until they lose it. And I wish people hired me to keep them healthy rather than finding me when they're long down the road of symptoms and frustrated and searching for answers. Because proper nutrition, it plays a huge role in disease onset and progression. Because nutrient deficiencies weaken the immune system, they leave us more susceptible to infections and chronic illness, and diets that are high in inflammatory foods like sugar, refined carbs, those seed oils that I mentioned, those promote systemic inflammation, which is a root cause of most of our modern diseases. And all these excess calories, they still leave us hungry because the food that they're coming from don't have the macronutrient and the micronutrients that actually make us feel nourished. And the ratios lead to obesity and insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. And the major risk factors for those things are conditions like heart disease and cancer and Alzheimer's. Those big ones that too many people are affected by. On the flip side, if we're having a nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory, properly balanced diet and with whole foods, that's going to provide us nothing but benefits. It's going to strengthen our immune function so we can fight pathogens, reduce oxidative stress and cellular damage. Let's optimize our hormone levels. How many people are out there trying to optimize their hormone levels? It starts with food. It's going to promote the healthy weight and metabolism and improve our gut health and nutrient absorption as well. So basically, this is not a news flash here, but crappy nutrition paves the way for disease by creating a perfect storm of deficiencies, toxicity, and dysfunction in the body. And proper nourishment is the powerful tool for prevention and even the reversal of many chronic conditions. And I hate that it's controversial to even say that you can reverse these conditions, like to go on and say, oh, you can heal yourself with proper nutrition. That's an instant flag right there for the bots online to be like, oh no, this is dangerous information. That's how protected this is, you guys. But it is the truth. We need to have the proper ingredients in our body for it to work. And those ingredients come from the things that you're eating. So I may have lost you by now. I don't know. If you're still listening, you might be wondering, so where do I start, Holly? Right? I know I talked about like the general guidelines, the starting places for you to then like fine tune your biofeedback. But this is also where I have a bone to pick with so much of the advice out there that just spews the general diet info. But it's also where I'm sympathetic because there is a conundrum. It's like, how do you share information about nutrition and health to a large audience or to the masses and make it personalized? You just can't do it. Like, it has to be generalized. So I get that. That's why I get that that's what's out there, but it just does a disservice. And this is why it is imperative that you know how to take in information, filter it, knowing your body and what may or may not apply to you, right? And I know I just keep like harping on this biofeedback in the food journal, but if you do not know how to feed yourself and understand the way your body is responding to the food that you take in, responding to the environment around you, if you're always looking for someone else to tell you how to eat or what to eat, like, this is going to be really hard. We have to stop outsourcing our health, guys. So that's why I keep talking about it, because you need to know how to do this stuff so you can take care of yourself and stop chasing your tails. So my step one, looking at what you may be consuming that could be contributing to your symptoms, your illness. You want to either remove it or replace it. This can start with the food journal or even have an experimental elimination diet. Ideally, both. You know, if you've never experimented with an elimination diet to see if that helps improve how you feel, now might be a good time to do that. Ideally, when you do both, a food journal, elimination diet, you can get some max data tracking there. You can get a lot of information. You can do food allergy testing. If you're reacting to something that you are eating and that's what's causing your symptoms, like, just removing that from your diet can be a world of difference. But food testing or food allergy testing isn't always accurate. I don't love it. If you are local in Tulsa, I do have a practitioner partner that I work with that does bioresonance scanning that's highly accurate in terms of food, not just allergies, but sensitivities. So I will put in the show notes how to do that, and relatively affordable pricing. But also there's something called a Coco's Pulse test that you could do if you really want to test some food allergies or sensitivities with yourself. I'll put that in the show notes too, how you can do that yourself. That's free. You know, you should be able to access information. You know, I don't want to keep things secret. So that is free. I use it in my clinic. I was trained in it in school. Doctors used it before there were fancy allergy tests. So it's pretty reliable. So I will include that as well. The next thing you need to do after removing things that could be damaging your body, is the second thing is tuning into your body wisdom. And many of us know deep down if there are habits or behaviors around food that are not serving us well. We just have to get honest with ourselves and tune in. If you ask yourself, is there anything about how I eat or my relationship with food that needs to change? The chances are your body will give you a gut feeling or that intuitive nudge about areas for improvement. You just have to be brave enough to listen, but it could be emotional eating or mindless snacking, portion sizes, food choices, meal timing, or any number of things. But the key is listening without judgment to that inner wisdom. And your body innately knows what it needs to function optimally. And just quieting the noise of that diet dogma and cultural conditioning, it allows you to hear this gentle guidance. Now, I do have a caveat here, because for someone who is eating a highly processed diet full of chemicals or dealing with a high toxic body burden, their ability to listen to body's wisdom can be severely compromised. Artificial additives, preservatives, environmental toxins, these are things that can hijack our hormonal signals, our brain function, and that chemical interference drowns out our body's innate intelligence and natural intuition. So it's kind of like living with constant static, disrupting the line of communication between your mind and your physical vessel. And the toxic overload makes it nearly impossible to tune into your body's subtle cues and needs. And so this is why a lot of times when I have clients, I do recommend certain dietary strategies for starting, just to get back to a baseline to where they can start listening. Because it's really hard to start listening to your body when there's static on the line. Hello, I cannot hear you. We got to restore that connection, and it requires sometimes a dedicated detox protocol. Not always. Sometimes it's just as simple as just changing out your food. But sometimes it is a little bit more strategic in a detox type of a process. I do have certain protocols and strategies that I use with some clients. It just kind of depends, but usually it's coupled with a nutrient dense or anti-inflammatory diet to kind of rebalance hormones and that brain chemistry, because only then can you truly quiet the noise you hear, and you can start to hear your body's wisdom again. But it's about removing that static so you can receive those gentle signals loud and clear. And then the third and final step here is you need to determine where you are and determine where you want to go. And have you ever been put in a giant shopping center and you're needing to find one store? So you go to the directory, the place is huge, you've never been there, you don't know how to get to the store you're looking for because, quite frankly, you don't even know where you are. I don't know, do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go straight? Do I go up? Do I go down? Sometimes these things are multi-levels. So you look for the directory, you look for that big dot that says, you are here. This is that step. In an earlier episode, I talk about how the way you eat is dependent on your goals, because if your goal is to gain muscle, the way you fuel your body is going to look different than if your goal is to reduce pain from, let's say, arthritis, inflammation, or reversing diabetes. You have to, 1, know your destination, and 2, know where your red dot is on the map. You got to know where you're starting from. Going with the first example, if your goal is to gain muscle and you're starting from coffee for breakfast and lunch, you just have coffee and that gets you through to the end of the day when you're having Chick-fil-A for dinner, it's an unrealistic expectation that you'll start eating 150 grams of protein and 3 meals a day right from the get-go. Can someone do it? Yes, sure. People do things all the time. But most people take some time. It might start with just eating a high protein breakfast instead of just having coffee. And then we add in lunch, and then we might need some help around meal ideas or meal planning, or how to even incorporate eating meals in the day. If you're someone who is used to not eating, it's going to take a little bit of planning and practice, some habit restructuring. The person who doesn't eat until dinner might do so because they're overscheduled and beyond busy. This takes some priority shuffling and lifestyle changes. And this, my friend, is where the beautiful gift of coaching comes in. The practitioner says, okay, you want to gain muscle, you need to eat protein and lift heavy weights. There you go. There's your plan. Thank you. Goodbye. Well, I don't quite say it like that, but you also need to explain what's needed to get there. And then the coach comes in, makes the game plan, the action steps, and helps you along the way. Does that make sense? Those are the 3 steps. I will have an outline of this stuff in the show notes and a download for you to make it a little bit more simple so you can see the outline of how we're going to do this. And then the last thing I want to talk about on this episode, since we're talking about the number one diet myth, nutrition myth out there being just one diet for everyone, that is the big lie. Really, what people thrive on is diet variation, because our bodies aren't meant to eat the same foods day in and day out. Varying your diet is crucial for getting a wide range of nutrients and avoiding deficiencies. Because when we're eating the same few meals repeatedly, it means we're missing out on different vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and beneficial plant compounds. Those are things that come from a variety of food sources. Now, this could be also another rabbit hole, like going into the quantum, of the food as information and what we're eating and when we're eating. It tells us where we live in the world and what time, what season it is. Like, that is stuff I get more into with clients on an individual level. But that, if that is something that you have not even heard of before, it's worth exploring, but it doesn't have to be the starting place. Because again, it doesn't need to be that complicated, which we're just starting with real foods here, right? Because we don't want to have imbalances. We need to vary our proteins, our produce, our healthy fats, and we need to expose our body to a broader spectrum of micronutrients so we can function optimally. And diet variation also provides different types of fiber to feed the good gut bacteria to promote a diverse, healthy microbiome. We talk about the importance of that, and a varied, rotating diet full of nutrient-dense whole foods is really ideal for getting complete nourishment and avoiding problems caused by lack of dietary diversity. But speaking of nourishment, we can't ignore the importance of feasting and fasting, because our bodies are designed to cycle in and out of fed and fasted states. And fasting gives our digestive system a break. It allows for other processes to take priority. Fasting is how our body cleans house. When we are in a fed state after eating, our bodies focus on digesting and absorbing nutrients. But when we fast, that is when repair and maintenance can happen. Fasting promotes autophagy, and we will definitely be talking about this in later episodes. I am a huge fan of fasting. Now, don't take that out of context, because you don't just go right into fasting, especially coming from, as a society being overfed and undernourished, sick. That's not necessarily the starting place, but I am a huge fan of fasting, and I believe fasting should play a role in everyone's, regular health. So we will be talking about that in later episodes in detail. But fasting promotes autophagy, and that's where old damaged cells get cleared out. It also boosts our human growth hormone production for cell regeneration. It helps us burn fat for fuel. And then when we feast again, our bodies can take full advantage of those nutrient-dense foods that we're consuming. And cycling between these states of feasting and fasting, that's what optimizes our body's ability to detox and repair and absorb nutrients. So feasting and fasting in a natural rhythm, rather than this constant feeding, that's really what provides a key health benefit, lack of ingredient, that we just can't ignore. And the other thing we just can't ignore is eating in sync with God's design. Diet variation, feasting, fasting, these are all a part of how God designed our bodies to eat. And when we look to nature, the confusion over what's healthy goes away. And there may be steps between where you're starting in an eating style fully aligned with God's intended design, but getting as close as possible to that natural, cyclical way of nourishing ourselves, that really is the goal. And when we vary our foods to get like a full spectrum of nutrients, like our ancestors did by eating what was available in each season, as I mentioned, fast periodically to give your body a break from digesting so it can clean itself, just as our ancestors fasted between hunts or harvests, tuning out the modern fixation on constant feeding. We do not need to be eating every couple hours. We need to tune into the natural rhythm of feasting and fasting because that's what supports optimal health. This is how our bodies are meant to be nourished. So I will wrap this up here. Fad diets, gimmicks, outdated advice, it's not working. We have rising obesity, disease rates, and it's showing us that we need to evolve this nutrition conversation because the food pyramid is wrong. It is not serving us. And we are not going to get healthier until we provide personalized guidance. We teach this information of how to listen to your body and how to nourish your body instead of looking for someone else to tell you how to eat. We need this personalized guidance. There's no one-size-fits-all diet. The best approach depends on your goals, your genetics, your lifestyle. So I am going to close us out in prayer, and then I will see you next time. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of nourishing whole foods from your creation and for your word as the daily bread that feeds our souls. Guide us to honor our bodies, your temple, by eating in sync with nature's rhythms, and may we embrace the spiritual discipline of fasting, as Christ did, and knowing that it provides great benefit for our physical and spiritual health. I pray that you fill us with wisdom to nourish our minds, bodies, and souls in a way that brings you glory. In your precious name we pray. Amen. All right. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Real Health Transformations. I hope this episode met you where you are and helped you cut through the noise, maybe get a little closer to the real practical solutions you've been looking for. Remember, everything shared here is for education and for inspiration, not medical advice. I am not your doctor. I am a podcast host. I am your encouraging digital friend. Always do what is right for you and consult a trusted healthcare provider before making any big changes. If you loved what you heard today, please subscribe, share with a friend, and let's keep having the conversations that matter without the fluff Find me on Instagram. Let's keep this conversation going and keep questioning things. Keep finding what works for you. You've got this. I'll see you next time.